guys, it's my privilege today. It's my privilege to actually introduce to you guys my executive directors at our company, Rich and Monica Claypool. Let me just say that Steve and I were in my back office yesterday, and I think it was 2023 that I signed my AOA. At the time, I was looking for a place to park my license, and I didn't know what would become. I tell you this much: I loved the offer because of what our company offers: ownership, legacy, everything. But it wasn't until November that I was on a training on a Wednesday morning, and Frank DeLeo said that this is a company of redemption. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a place where I could go and fight and get back some of those years that the locust had stolen from me. And we've spent the last 7 months ramping it up, and you can see the progress now. The effort and just really really going. And I have a guy I know he wants to get in trying to call me, but I can't do that. Hopefully maybe he can get in. At any rate, the gentleman that you just got the paper on, we just recruited him. Just I hung up from signing the AOA and sent him this link, guys. We're fighting for 10, and the night's not over, so we're at 7. That part of my good news, y'all. Part of magic things happen when you as a team do 10. But we'll get Monica and Rich to talk about that. So, I don't know what to say about this couple except say they're amazing. They're servant leaders. Rich and I were talking about something this morning, and he said, "Hey, when we get done our devotions, I'll get right back to you." And to me, as a person, as a believer, I was like, you know what? That's awesome. I can step aside because that's the kind of leader I need. Someone that knows how to lead, that knows the number one leader of all time. And of course, I'm sure there was probably some time inside that devotion, and Monica was getting him straight. So I figured he needed a minute, right? But without further ado, Rich and Monica Claypool. Let me just get you guys to say hi first, so everybody can see your faces.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
There's Monica, and now Rich is gonna be all shy.
No, I said hello.
Did you say hello? Good, good, good.
Yep.
So, Rich and Monica work with us at Experior. They're a couple, an ED team or an executive director team, and what really prompted me, I've been wanting to get these guys on for a long time, but what really prompted me was a conversation Rich and I had a couple weeks ago. Rich was telling me some of his story. And I thought to myself, I said, so many times we discount ourselves because of the troubles we face in life. We think the troubles are who we are, not what we have to go through. And I really, really related with that phone call. Um, so, Rich, I'm gonna get you to I'm going to get you. Maybe just tell us a little bit about your background. I mean, I'm sure you and Monica were born silver spoons, high school sweethearts, married out of college, millionaires by 30, right?
How did you know? And then I woke up from that dream, you know. So yeah, Monica and I we didn't know each other in high school. We didn't know each
I wouldn't
other.
have liked him in high school.
Yeah, he barely likes me now. So there's a lot to say about that. So uh, really, Monica and I met in 2010. And so, that's kind of where our journey began was 15 years ago. And, for those of you that are looking to, attract a spouse, a partner, here's where I was at, right? I literally had just come off of closing down my mortgage company. I literally didn't have two pennies to rub together. I was living in a duplex. Okay. When I say living in a duplex, no, I was renting a room in a duplex. So it wasn't even the full duplex. It was just a room in a duplex. And I'm like, so you want to get married? That was literally uh the romance. I mean, we dated for about 4.5 months, 5 months, and got married back in Kansas. And 3 weeks later, we moved to Dallas Fort Worth, and we started our lives. And it was. I always tell people, it was the worst of times, but it was actually the best thing that ever happened.
Right.
As I always tell people, God closes one door to open up another, and you can't sometimes people are so short-sighted, they only see what's next right in front of them, right? They don't see 4, 5, 6, 7 steps down the road. Only the good Lord knows what's going to happen to you. You can't predict the future, and that's where we're trusting, right? You got to trust. Hey, trust that I can take that next step. Trust that leap of faith. And we didn't know what the next 15 years were going to look like, and it hasn't always been, a box of what
Chocolates.
yeah, chocolates. It hasn't always been a box of chocolates. They're
It kind of has, because you never know what you're going to get in that box of chocolate.
this
That's
is true.
good,
It hasn't
Monica.
been a bed of roses.
Yeah,
I
a
think
better
is what
rose.
you're-
That's what I was trying to
That's
think
what you
of.
were going for.
Yeah, but anyways,
I'm the rich interpreter if y'all need that.
yeah. So I'll just turn it over to Monica, and she can kind of, tell you kind of what it looked like from the time that we moved here, to kind of fast forward until say 2022.
Was it blind faith, Monica? Was it like when you guys, because you
No, she
guys
was
left,
just blind. No, she was just blind.
she was just blind. I thought you were a great recruiter, man. I saw Monica and I thought this guy can recruit. I mean, that's the kind of team I want to be on,
He can sell some stuff, that's for sure.
That's good. That's good. Well, you guys came from Missouri or Kansas?
Missouri.
Missouri?
Yeah,
Was it
the Kansas City area.
what took you to Dallas? I mean, what was it? Was it leading? Was it blind faith? Was it, hey, we're gonna try it out?
It was a job for Rich. He
Okay.
came down on a job interview for a friend and got the job, and we moved to Texas. We moved to Texas 21 days after we got married.
Get
Exactly.
out of here. So Rich, when he's telling me that story, he was like, I went, and then we immediately moved to Texas. I didn't think it was
Yeah.
21 days.
Yeah, our honeymoon was in Texas. That's when he did his job interview. And guys, we went for a special date out. We went to the Cowboy Stadium. We went to
I am
AT&T
so
Stadium,
sorry.
and he paid for the guided tour so that we could go into all the places. I mean, he spent some bucks there.
I am so sorry. I could have been the Buccaneers or the Raiders. I mean, but hey, at least it was the NFL. The
Yeah,
I had to check myself here because Dallas, but whatever. That was good, dude. Like when you guys came down, how long was it before you were introduced to Xperia, and what business were you guys in before you started?
So I've always kind of, when we moved well, before we moved to Texas, I was teaching special education. So that kind of gives me my in with understanding Rich. Um, you know, so, but when we moved to Texas, I got into the recruiting space. I was
Okay.
working in a staffing office in Arlington, and I had several stints I worked for IBM as a recruiter for a little bit. He was selling semi trucks for about a year, couple of years. He's not a very good employee, so he's very much a self-employed type guy. And so,
Chronically unemployable, that kind of person? Would you call him
What?
chronically unemployable?
yeah. But so he got back into the insurance space, and
Okay.
for me, it was really scary because I had never been in that type of or been around an entrepreneur like that, where his sole income was if he sold something. And so as a female, that was very scary to me. Felt insecure for a while. But he is consistent and persistent. And
I am
just has
so glad you brought
grown.
that up.
He has grown and grown.
That's awesome. I mean, I've watched you guys grow in the time I've known, and it's amazing. And I'm glad you brought that up because I've been in this business 18 years, and I've watched it sometimes destroy a marriage.
Yeah.
Usually through under promising and or over promising and under delivering.
Under delivery, yeah.
You guys are in this together, so what advice do you have for couples out there to avoid that pitfall? Like you think of it two ways. You have people on this call and people that are going to watch it that are the only person in the business, but then there's also couples. How do you avoid just disappointing or not that we're never going to do it, but what's the best way to try not to disappoint your mate?
For him, he just always delivered the results, and maybe more of it was God. We always had exactly what we needed, you know. Never a time that we went without. Now, there were times when we cut back, like in the summer or something, and things were getting tight, so we cut off, the direct TV and went all streaming. And there are times where we have just really buckled down, but he has always provided.
Did that persuade you to get in business with him?
Um, I had got my PNC license in 2014. I do not like PNC. I still hold it, but there's such a volume to it, and it's hard for us, a smaller business, to compete with the progressives and all these huge companies. But we use it as a referral system. I got my life license in 2018 just because he's like, "Oh, you should do this." And I'm like, "I still working corporately, but I can take a test." And so I took the test, I got my license, and really didn't do anything with it until we got into Experior. Um, I did a little bit with our previous company, but I didn't write anything with them. My husband's frugal, y'all, because our previous company, if you were a licensed spouse, you got to come for free and you got to eat for free. You get to do all the things, right? So that's where my license came in handy, because I got to go to the beach and do some things. So I like that. But then in 2021, before we even joined Experior, he was doing so well with our previous company in the school market that he's like, "Okay, I think it's time for you to come home full time." And so I learned, what he was doing, helping with the applications, doing a lot of data entry, and just kind of checking in on the clients and follow up and that kind of thing. It's not, we discovered, and that segues into Experior. And as a couple, when you're working together, you have to figure out your roles, and they kind of change. When we first started with Experior, and I was doing all the application input, all the follow-up, all that, I am not just a person to sit and do data entry and paperwork all day long. That drives
Makes
me
sense.
absolutely bonkers. And so we had to kind of switch some things around. And that's what we've learned through this journey, is just because you start in one path doing, it's okay to say, "I'm really not liking this. Let's change some things up," because the monotony of it was driving me crazy.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Rich, I want to ask you a question, and we'll bring you right back up to where we'll start where
How
you
long? He
started,
stepped out for
and
just a second.
I'll bring you up to where Monica's at when he's ready. Can he hear me?
No, should be.
Okay, cool.
There he
So,
is.
so, so, hey, Rich, when Monica said you delivered the goods, what'd that look like in the office? Because I know what it's like to watch people come into the office and spend 8 hours, but not work 8 hours. What did those days look like for you to be able to deliver that promise for Monica?
It wasn't 8 hours.
Mm-mm.
Amen to that.
I mean,
No.
I still typically start my day, no matter what that looks like, between 9 and 10. And many days I don't stop working. Even like when I go to bed and she goes to sleep, I'm still working my phone till probably 10 o'clock at night. And so, the thing that most people believe as an entrepreneur, all they see is like when you're on the beach and you're relaxing, you're doing all that stuff, and it's just, all the money's flowing in, right? So, on social media, I say, hey, work hard so you can play hard, and I mean, we we've sacrificed. There's been some things that was out of our control. Is once we joined Experior from our former company, there were things that we were limited what we could and could not do because of that former company. Um, but my point is, you always have two, anytime something like that happens, you have you have two roads you're going to go down. You're either going to fight like heck and make it happen, or you're going to throw in the towel and give up. And that's not in my DNA. It probably stems from my dad. My dad is a Vietnam vet. I think 2 or 3 times he was in Vietnam, 20 years in the military. And one thing my dad taught me was, hard work.
Right.
We don't quit. That old saying that, winners never quit and quitters never win, right? And I believe that. Now sometimes you got to change teams, right?
Yeah.
And I use a lot of sports analogies because I think they make sense for people who are tuned into sports. But I always like to use Chris Carter. Chris Carter started his NFL career in Philadelphia, right? He was young, immature, couldn't get things going. Well, he got traded to the Minnesota Vikings, and he's now in the Hall of Fame. Did that make Chris Carter a quitter? No, he just had to change the team and
Right.
change the environment, change the culture that fit for. I mean, he had to grow, right? So
Right.
some of this in this business, going, hey, listen, we got to grow. One of the things that Steve and I've had this conversation when Monica and I came to Experior, we didn't have to learn product. We already knew that. We was already doing that, right? But we had to grow from a leadership standpoint. See, I knew how to manage my day, right? But leading other people, I hadn't done that. I can lead myself, right?
Sometimes.
I persistency and consistency, as I say all the time, it's not just a cliche, but that's what I do. When you're a solopreneur, for the most part, until Monica left and came home, it was me out there following up and doing all the things. So it's like, I believe in this philosophy that you follow up until they buy or until they die. And I don't mean like physically die, okay, but where they literally tell you, no, I am not interested, leave me alone. Okay, that's all I needed to hear,
Right.
right? That's all I needed to hear. I'm not going to waste my time on people who are not interested.
Right.
But until you tell me that, I have to assume, especially with our system, that you checked on a box that you said, I am interested in setting up a 403B. I am interested in protecting my family. I am interested in getting out of debt. You put that on the form. I didn't. I didn't force you to put that on the form. Nobody forced you. You put it on the form. So if you put it on the form, why would I ever think that I need to stop following up because that was important to you? See, that's the way that my mind works. See, most people, because even Monica said that. She goes, I bet you're irritating them and they're probably sick and tired. I said, then they should tell me that, right? Like if they don't tell me that, how do I know? Because
Amen. I love that. And I always was like, until they have a restraining order, keep calling, right?
well, I mean, you don't have to go that far, but
Just that close to it. Just that close to it. So that brings it up to, that brings it up to you and Monica and coming into this business. Look, we all know this. I don't care what company you work for. In most cases, you don't sign that AOA with a team. So what did it look like when you guys began and you started off on your own? You had some product experience, but you didn't bring 100 people. How did you kick this off?
I mean, the first part of it, Rich was just recruiting because we weren't fully contracted yet. And what he did was he listened to the coach. We had a different coach at that point in time, but the coach called the play and the coach said, Rich, get your people on the phone with me. And what I found amazing, because when we were first approached, Rich was first approached with Experior. And then he told me, he's like, I want to try this. And I was not on board with coming into Experior. It was another change. It was another company. The company we were with, it was fine. They just, it was just stuffy. And I don't know, they were kind of snooty. And I was just like, really, we're going to put ourselves in something else again that's kind of like this. I kind of felt we were a little bit of an outcast, but we're always right in the middle of the pack though, because of his numbers and his consistency and persistency. And he just said, well, if it doesn't work, we'll just go back to the other company. What does it hurt to try this? And I saw him do something that I'd never seen him do in the time I've known him, and that was follow somebody else's direction in an area that he was already been, working in. Coach called the play and said, get him on 10-minute phone calls with me. And Rich would introduce him and just let him take over the conversation. And we were number one recruiters for the longest time. Our first year, they were running a trip that year. That was the first Experior trip, and we were actually the number 5 agency. We were personal recruiters. We won in the personal recruiter category as well, but they bumped us from that one since we won in 2 categories. And we went to the first Mexico trip as one of the top 5 recruiting teams.
That is awesome.
And here's the thing though, we came in at the end of April, took all of May to contract. And so we didn't start writing business till June.
And still won the trip. Doesn't that give you guys, look, I'm gonna tell you what, I just want to say there's 2 things she said right there. Number one, if you're afraid of recruiting or you don't know what to say, get your people in front of the person that recruited you or one of this leadership team here. All you have to say is take a phone call from, my ED or my sales manager or whatever, get them in front, and then we even have a script for that. If your company doesn't have it, I'll give it to you. I got it. You use it. We used to, Monica, I love that. It reminds me of the old days of training, and I'd get somebody on the phone and hand the phone right over, and that's what we did. That was awesome. Then the other thing is, they got started before they could get started. So, I mean, they were working before they could really work. That's amazing. That is awesome. What was the rest of the first year for you guys? You started in April. Started late, by the way, guys. They started late and still won.
Started late.
Yeah.
So
JT, and I tell everybody this: how you get contracted and the system we have in place today is nothing compared to what Steve had and Monica and I had. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, literally, we were already licensed.
We had 2 platforms to do our contracting on.
Yeah.
We had some in the back office and some on another platform, and it's always getting better. Always getting better.
Guess what? We knew how to contract because we've been contracting with independent before, but it took us literally about 3 weeks to get contracted. And this is just kind of what happened. Okay. To sum it up, our first 30 days, we ended up hiring, I think 17 or 18 people. Our first 30 days, we wrote about $13,000 in production. And all of that was the last 4 days of the month because we didn't have a contract until the last 4 days of the month. So that was May. Okay. That we did that. June, we end up hiring, I think, 22 people. We wrote like $28,000 in production. That was month 2. Month 3, I think we hired 28 people, did about $22,000 to $24,000 in production. And then that very next month, we did like 40 recruits and I don't know, $36,000 in production. And we became executive directors. And
we have it. What was cool is there was a record that was broken. I don't know if it's July or August, and the very first day of the next month, I got a phone call from Jamie. I still have the voicemail because I didn't recognize the number coming in, and Jamie's like, "Wow, you guys, that was amazing. You guys broke this and that last month, and da 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 da." Yeah, it's amazing when. Rich had already met Jamie. I hadn't met Jamie yet because we had a grandbaby born that summer, and Jamie was coming to town, and I went to Washington State to see the grandbaby. But Rich had met Jamie. I hadn't got to meet Jamie yet, and just to have a phone call from this guy that, he's the CEO of the company. They are, they're so up there, and they're so experienced, and they're so knowledgeable. But he is such an ordinary guy. just to give you a call and say congratulations. And I know he still does that stuff today. So he has not
He's a
changed.
great guy.
Yeah,
He was my
is.
second podcast.
Yep.
Jamie Prickett is so down to earth. I can still message him to this day. I don't on a regular basis because Rich and Monica are my leader, but and they have everything Jamie has. But Jamie's so down to earth. He was willing to be on this podcast. So what we know now, you guys had a good first year. Eventually, you got to six figures. Was it tough to get to that 100, 150? Was that a battle?
Um, it was a challenge because of the things that we were dealing with the former company,
Okay.
so that was a distraction. Okay. Everybody has different distractions.
Right.
And depending on what it was, I mean, because this will be recorded, I'm not going to talk about some of the specifics, but let me just tell you, it weighed on us. But that's where us doing our devotions, and I mean, we prayed over every single day, and I think because of that, we trusted that God would take care of this process. And I think
Amen.
at the end of the day, how everything turned out and the way everything went down at the very end, I know that was God's hand in it. It wasn't just because Monica and I. So our second year wasn't a great year. Okay, it really wasn't. But see, that would have been
2023.
2024 is when we made over $100,000, and we're on track this year to double what we did last year, just about
Amen.
double it. And I always say this, I'm like, people say, Rich, what did you do different, from what you did the year before? And the only thing that I've done different is just tell everybody, be persistent and be consistent. That's the only thing I know how to do. People like, but I need the secret. Yeah, you got to work hard.
Right.
That's the secret. The secret is being persistent and being consistent. The problem is, for most people, they get a big client, they do something big, and they're like, huh, look what I've done. Even when we became executive directors, and even after we hit the 100,000 and got the ring, it was like, okay. It's almost like this, guys. You guys remember getting your diploma, either high school or college, right? You kind of said, hey, look at me, I graduated, right? And it should say, now what?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to sit on what you've done in the past, or are you going to continue to move forward? And I think last year when we hit that 100,000, because remember, I had been in this industry for a long time, and even though we've made 100,000 being independent, but that was a combination of a bunch of different companies all put together. There was never one that's recognized the way the Xperia recognizes, and from the time that I was licensed in 1993, with a company that, I won't say the name of it. I'll just tell you the stock sticker symbol is PRI. So that PRI company, guess what? They always talked about the ring is the thing, right? So in my mind, I was like, oh, finally, right? That was kind of my mindset. But now it's like, okay, you've done that. Is that all that you came to Xperia for? No, we didn't come just for that. I mean, I now want Steve and JT and Tammy and Virginia, everybody else on here, Pam, right? Franklin, brand new to our organization. Good to see you, Franklin, right?
I told you he'd say hi to you, Franklin. Franklin
Yeah.
signed his AOA 30 minutes ago.
Right.
How y'all doing?
And here's my point, JT. I now want to see you guys have the success that we've had. See, we haven't arrived. Okay, we're still in the trenches day in and day out. But guess what? Hey, Steve Blasker is on the verge of becoming our first qualified executive director, right?
Yeah.
And let me tell you why I'm so excited about Steve becoming our first, because Steve had zero experience. Okay. He had zero experience in the industry. He was already a client of mine. Okay. Steve and I met all the way back in 2012 or 2013 through networking. Okay. So Steve was already a friend of ours, all this kind of stuff. And so for him to be our first qualified one, man, it's like seeing one of your kids, right? Right, Steve? Steve didn't know that I had
Easy, you're on. You're being recorded. Slow
he
him
didn't
down.
know that a guy like me could produce a child like him. Is that better? Is that okay if I say it that way?
Especially
Anyway,
since I'm several years older than him.
yeah. But guys, here's the thing. You have to be able to distract the distractions. Even though the distractions
good.
for a minute, we didn't stay there, right? And you know what that comes? What does Frank say? You know, mindset over skill set.
That's right.
Skill set is still important. And I
That's
don't
right.
care what you do in life. If it's financial services, if it's working out, if it's getting out of debt, if it's improving your marriage, whatever it is in your life, it starts right here.
That's right.
So what allowed us to continue was the mindset. We had to change. I personally have had to get better as a leader because I was horrible because I hadn't done it for 20 plus years, right? I knew how for Monica and I, right? It was just she and I. That's easy on the business side, right? And we don't always see things eye to eye, but guess what? You know, it wasn't like, hey, I had to be this great leader, you know, but now when we got, you know, we almost have now almost 60 licensed agents, right? That's a whole different ballgame, guys. And
Right.
when you have that, guess what? You got different personalities. You have different people's opinions. And as a strong leader, you can't give in just because somebody wants something, right? I mean, Steve and I have had conversations. He probably doesn't always agree with what I do, and that's okay. You know, if you find somebody who just always agrees with you, that's not a good leader.
I mean,
They're a good
there are times we disagree with Frank. I mean, it happens. But for us, our leadership styles are completely different. And so there are times when he has sent something out, I go in there and I'm just like, oh, you need to retract that. That was not. It was, you know, it came across pretty crappy. And this is the reason why, and this is how that's going to take it. And there are times, you know, that he's had to go and eat some crow with it, you know, type thing, just because, and that's what makes us a good team. We're not the same. We have completely different personalities, completely different styles, leadership styles. He is very task oriented, and that's a good thing in the business, and it's a bad thing in our marriage. So there have been times where we have had to sit down, and I said, especially date night, and last Friday there were some of our team members that were texting us on date night, and I should have put them in the naughty corner because that's my time. That's
Thanks,
my
Monica.
time.
Debbie's in the other room listening to this.
Yes,
I know
because
what's
I
going to
mean there are
happen
so much
to me afterwards.
he gives so much time to the team, and there are times I'm like, okay, we're on the same team, but we don't have to be coworkers tonight. Tonight we're on a date, and this is what it looks like.
That's good.
And you know, and you have to draw that line to separate work from your marriage. And I think that's one thing that couples that get into this don't understand. And we actually had lunch with Terry and Fernando. I never said their last name right, but they're on the Diamond team and they're local to us. And
cool.
we pick their brain about how they work as a couple, because just because we do certain things right, I know that there's other levels for us to get to, just like in business. But for us to be more effective and to be better for each other in business and as a couple, there are other things that we needed to do.
That's good. Speaking of Frank, guys, hashtag FML100M. Are you guys going to be one of the 100 of the $1 million earners? Is that the plan? Is that the big
Of
picture?
course.
Like, I know the 250 rings right around the corner. This is my prediction for you guys. I think by this time next year, at least 3 executive directors and 250. What's beyond that? Are we headed to $1 million?
You know something?
If we have like a dedicated number, it's more, for me, it's more just the, what we're leaving for our kids, that legacy.
That's good.
And just building this
That's your
together
why?
and knowing, yeah. My mom passed early and she didn't leave us anything. I mean, she didn't leave, not that she left us anything. She didn't have a will. She didn't have, and so my brother and I had to come up with all the funds and do all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't want my kids to have to do that.
So JT,
Amen. I've had that conversation with all my kids too. You were saying, Rich?
So JT, do we have a date of when we'll make $1 million? No. I truly believe that you have to take stepping stones. I see too many people, and I think it based upon where they came from, where hey, you shoot for the moon, you hit the stars. That's the mentality. But you can't go from 0 to 100. Okay, you can't.
Right.
I've had people. They're like, I'm making 100,000 this year. I said, hey, why don't you have a goal of making 1,000 first? Make $1,000.
Right.
Okay, and then next month make 1,000, and then start making 2, then 3. Right?
Be consistent.
And that's where the consistency comes in. You know, and
wins.
Hey, listen, we're going to have a lot of part-time people that are going to come in and do a little bit here and then a little bit there. And those are not the people I'm talking to. I'm talking about the people who are plugging in every week that want to make this a business, not a hobby, but a business, right? Well, you, just like any business, are you tracking everything? See, I believe you can't fix something that you don't track, right? You know, today is the last day of the first half of 2025. And I told Monica, I said, I want to look at our first half of the year numbers, right? Knowing that the first half of the year is usually the worst first half, right? In this business, because guess what?
Right.
You know, August, September, October, and the first 2 weeks of November, those 3.5 months are the best 3.5 months of the entire year. But what you do is you build from January 1. So that way you can have a good fourth quarter. You can't just go from 0 and say, oh, it's the best 3.5 months. Well, if you haven't been planting the seeds like a farmer, you don't plant the seeds in the winter, you can't harvest it in the fall. Does that make sense?
That's
right.
That's right.
I look at where our business was, you know, and there's a few people that was on here at the first of the year, we were having 10 or 12 people show up. And now we're having 40 people show up. And people go, how did you do it? Consistent and persistent. That we literally, we do it every week, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have our Tuesday nights. We have our Saturday trainings, right? Now we're doing our back to school stuff. You know, everything that we are doing is being consistent and being persistent about it. The problem is people get distracted and they stop being consistent. And then they stop being persistent of the ones that were out there. And when that happens, you lose all that momentum. So it's like, hey, listen, that's why when I'm talking to Steve or anybody, I'm like, don't let up. Don't let up. Just keep pushing. Because if you push, your team will see that. And guess what? They will do half what you do right and 100% what you do wrong. And that's
good.
I think, Rich, something that we implemented 2 years ago, I think that's what helps kind of track where we're at. The end of 2023, we did our first kind of staycation. It was here in town. We didn't go anywhere, but it was planning. It was planning for 2024. And we checked into a hotel. We used our Hilton points, so we didn't pay anything. And we had dinner. We had a nice evening, just kind of downtime. And then the next day was spent going over numbers and who's doing what and what we want to accomplish. To say we actually did well kind of following some of that in 2024, we did okay. But this year we did it again. And we really mapped out the first half of the year so that we, if you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going, right? If you don't
That's
have a
right.
map, how do you know if you're going to get there? And so when he mentioned we're gonna revisit all of our numbers and adjust what we need to adjust and maybe add some new things in, for the end of the year, and then we'll do another business
I
planning.
love that, guys. I love that
Yeah.
so much. I have to tell you something. I think I could spend forever with you guys. I mean, I think I could ask you guys questions forever. And Rich is my kind of guy, and Monica, you are so sweet, and you tolerate people like us. But I don't want to keep you all night. So if you don't mind, I'd say because I mean we could get into the nuts and bolts and everything else, but I think sometimes people need to see the kind of. There's a reason why everybody I talk to, I see, you got to meet Steve, Rich, and Monica. You got to meet Steve, Rich, Monica. It's not just because of your leadership, it's because you guys are wonderful. And I'm telling you, that's how I feel from my heart. You guys have been there for me through thick or thin, and I'm trying not to cry, guys. 'Cause I'm telling you, it's been a hard fought to get here today. And I just appreciate your support. If we could maybe just take 5 or 8 minutes, if anybody has any questions that I didn't ask that you want to hear something about, um, you won't get any more real than Rich and Monica. So don't be afraid. Come off mute. You ain't got to turn your camera on if you don't want to. We won't embarrass you. But anybody have any questions? Don't miss your chance. Everybody
This
has
Franklin, I
questions.
just want to be.
Oh,
Do you
hey,
hear me?
Franklin. Welcome
Yeah, we can hear
aboard,
you.
by the way, Franklin. Man, I just love this guy. Look at that face. Isn't that a face? I'm telling you, he glowed
Hey.
on Facebook.
Hey, JT, pin him so we can see him.
Where you at, Franklin?
He's
Right
right
here.
there.
There he is.
There
I
he
see
is.
him. He's right in the center.
Go ahead, Franklin. You
Yeah.
got your question or comment, man? Jump right in here,
Oh
brother.
yeah.
You're part of the team.
So my question is, like, I'm tired of working. I want to be my own boss. I want to make my own money. Wake up when I want to wake up. Go to sleep when I want to go to sleep. And like now, at these jobs, it takes so much out of you, and you have to go back to your family. You have to deal with your family and everything. And so it's like real stressful. It's real stressful, and you got bills coming everywhere. I know a lot of people, they live in check by check, and I'm one of them. And I'm tired of living check by check. So I just want to be like you guys and try to make money and get other people to make money. Because it's hard out here today.
Hey, Franklin, here's what I'll tell you. Life is hard. Okay. Getting up every day and working for somebody else, that's hard.
Yeah.
Them telling you how much you're worth, that's hard. Them telling you when you can go on vacation, that's hard. Letting them tell you when you can spend time with your family, that's hard. Okay. But being self-employed is hard as well. Going and basically finding your clients every day, that's hard. Calling people, that's hard. Following up with people, that's hard. The moral of the story is this: life is not ever going to be easy. It's going to be hard. But the great thing is, you get to pick your hard. You're either going to pick to go work for somebody else and always live paycheck to paycheck, or you're going to make the sacrifices that you need to make so then you'll never have to have a boss ever again. But it's still going to be hard. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Like, I know I might be starting out part-time with you all, but I'm surely going to be full-time one day.
Good.
Hey,
Amen.
let me
Franklin
tell
said
you,
his
let me
wife
tell
is
you
the
worst
next one
case
he wants us to meet.
JT, just a second. Franklin, here's the worst case that's going to happen. You come in part-time, you get licensed, you get trained, you get a financial education, and nobody can ever take that away from you. That's
right.
Worst case, right? Best case, you turn into a Steve Glasker. You're going to be an executive director. You'll be a 6-figure income. You'll have shares in the company, and you're going to change your family's tree.
Yeah.
That's the opportunity that we're talking about. You know what the great thing is? It's you're going to have a great support system, and it's going to be all up to you if that becomes a reality or not. It won't happen overnight. This is not a 100-meter dash. Sometimes it might be a 5K, then a 10K, and then I don't know what goes after that. But that's only crazy people run those. Anything over 5 or 10Ks, those are for crazy people. Okay. You know, I love to run. I really do. My entire life, I was a runner. I run from my man cave down to my kitchen. I get something to eat, and I run back up to my man cave. That's how I like to run. Okay.
The only
So,
thing you run is your mouth.
Yeah.
I've never seen you run to the man cave.
Oh, I have. Before we could pause the television, it was a commercial. I'm like, oh, I'm running to the restroom and then to the thing. But hey, welcome to the team. Proud to have you on the team. Okay.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here, Franklin, man. I saw that face and I said, he had that smile. He glows. That's a guy right there. He's going to attract people to him. Any other questions? If not, we'll let Rich and Monica go. And I'm so grateful, guys. I'm so grateful for you guys coming on. Thank you so much. Getting to know you better and have you share that story. That's what I wanted people to hear how great people you are. Any other questions before we go? Everybody knows everything, brother. Now they'll all hit me up later on. They'll be like, "Hey, can you ask them this?"
Do it. Hey, now that they know it, tell them just to go do it.
That's right. That's exactly right, guys. I'm so proud to be a part of your team, guys.
One
I
quick
have a
thing.
question. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
you
have
got a question? Go ahead,
Oh,
Dee.
there we go.
Hi guys. Was wondering, Rich and Monica, if you guys have any type of open training days that somebody could hop on and kind of eavesdrop.
So who's your executive director?
Ian Barnett.
All right. So what I'll tell you is you get with Ian, and if he gives me the green light for you to plug into any of our trainings, I'm good with that. But always, I want to make sure that your executive director is okay with that. Okay.
Okay, good. Because we don't have one formal.
Oh yeah.
Like, we don't have a really
Okay.
formal.
Yeah, just
training day,
ask
so.
Ian and then just let us know. And that'd be great.
And I know who Ian is. So just tell him to send me a message that, hey, it's good. And then I'll make sure that JT or whoever is connected with you will get you that information. And we're more than happy to have you jump on one of our trainings.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well,
You're
Good
welcome.
stuff. Good stuff. Thank
I
you
like
for
her
asking.
shirt. Did
Oh,
you see
That's a
her
great
shirts?
one. I love that shirt.
Go fund
Steve,
me
did you,
yourself with life insurance. Yes.
That's right. That's right. We need some
I
of those.
love that.
Steve, did you have a question?
I was just going to say when
You know, Rich
executive
told me
director-
you were the last one he called, by the way.
What was that?
When he was recruiting people, he said you were the last one he called. I'm just kidding, brother.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
kidding.
I might have been. Who knows? No, I was just going to say I've been talking to Rich and Monica because I was talking about how awesome San Diego is, and I'm sure a lot of you haven't been. I promise you, it's not like the rest of California, like LA, because LA sucks. San Diego is a beautiful city, and at some point in time, I plan for us to hopefully be able to talk them into having a team trip out there that you'll have to qualify for, but we're going to have a team trip in San Diego, and you're going to see it's an absolutely gorgeous city. It
I
really
love
is.
it. We need to get to work then.
hey, JT,
Yes, sir.
here's the thing. Steve's about to become an executive director. So when Steve becomes an executive director, Steve's going to run a training or a
He can run his
contest
own contest.
for his. Yeah. So it's irrelevant what Rich and Monica does. It's what Steve's going to do.
That's right.
Well, I'm going to get Rich and Monica to pay for it.
Well, that was what I say. All-State Steve, you'll be all-state Payne Steve. That's what I'm going to call you.
There you go.
All-State Steve.
Hey, Rich,
Hey,
Monica,
Rich, at the
hook
old
it up
company,
like we
they
did with
call-
Hawaii. You guys got to come.
There
Oh,
you
we'll
go.
come.
I
Never
didn't
been to
say-
San Diego.
Yeah,
Hey,
but we didn't pay
Steve-
for y'all's trip to Hawaii.
Yeah, I never said we weren't going
Oh,
to.
I'm not saying pay for it. I'm going to have a contest, but you guys got to come. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
we'll
saying?
come. We'll be there.
We'll come.
I've never been there, so of course I'll be there.
Yeah, it's
At
a beautiful
another
city.
company, they used to call the regional leaders and RVPs in and tell us we were having a contest and what we were paying for. That's a
Wow.
true story.
That's crazy.
But hey, guys, I appreciate you so much. And of course, getting along like this meal crack up and all that good stuff. And part of what I love about us. Any parting words of advice, and we'll wrap up.
Just
Just
stay
do it.
consistent and persistent. And if you need any help with anything, you're feeling down, you're feeling whatever, just give us a call. Send me a text, whatever. We're here for everybody.
Yeah, and when she
Perfect.
says give us a call, what she meant was give Monica a call. Okay, right, Steve? So little
Facts.
inside joke, everybody. My phone is always on silent, so that's why I use Telegram. And so Steve would always call me, right? Well, I would never even see it. So he would always call Monica. And so he would always tell people, don't call Rich because he doesn't answer. So I always talk to Monica. And I'm like, and the downside of this is, I'm still trying to figure out the downside.
I can't
You
see
know.
one.
Yeah.
Whenever anybody asks me, oh, I need to talk to Rich about blah, 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 I said, did you call Monica? Did you call Monica?
Hey, if
That's
you want to
good
talk
stuff.
to me, hey, use Telegram because it will ring on my computer and it will ring on my phone.
Amen, Reba.
Yep.
So
You guys are the best.
Reba got firsthand knowledge of what it's like to be with Rich and Monica for a long time. She stayed in our room at convention.
Oh boy.
So, yeah.
Yeah, she was
So
like,
this is real.
Sorry. True.
yeah, she was like,
What?
let me out of here. I've had enough of Rich and Monica.
What you see is what you get.
Yep.
She's still
So anyways,
here.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, for those of you that are on our coaching and accountability, we'll still be meeting at 8:00 tonight.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. I wish
You're
we did
welcome.
this 6 months sooner, but I think this was the right time.
For those on the
I
East Coast,
really
it's
appreciate
9, that's 9 Eastern for the East Coasters, just so you know.
Yeah, for those of us that are
And Tammy,
slower
don't worry
lower.
about it because you don't have to get up at your normal time in the morning. Okay.
No, it's a holiday. It's the end of the day. I'm staying up tonight and I am sleeping in.
What time is close
Good
of
for you.
business? Midnight. So we should all be up till midnight, I guess.
Well,
11. Well, 11.
11 Central, 12 Eastern.
11 Central, 12 Eastern. Love
Yeah.
it. Love
So
it.
keep pushing strong.
He was just giving
You
you
got
the
it, brother.
times that he called me, Rich, from 6 a.m. until midnight California time.
Steve, I got a phone call planned for you at 3.
I'm sure you
Oh my
do.
God.
Hey, JT, you can call me. But remember, my phone's on silent, so I never even hear it.
Hey, I know an IT guy. We'll get that ringer turned
Unless
on.
you call him through Telegram and then it'll ring. But if
And
you wake me up,
if you wake her
I
up,
wouldn't recommend that.
Steve knows. Steve's called me, and I'm like, hey, I can't talk. Monica's asleep.
I
so.
might look stupid, but that don't mean I am.
All right, guys. We'll
Thanks,
talk to you
guys.
later.
God bless you guys.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Rich and Monica. Thanks, everybody, for being
God
on.
bless.
Everybody, thanks, Richard, Monica. Thanks, JT.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.